What side do you want me?
When you sit over the side.
All right.
Well, Harmeen, what a joy it is to have you back. I can't believe it's been a year
I tell you,
since we did
I think
this.
you've made the clock go faster.
I hope not. There'd be a lot of people complaining. We sat, actually we were in the Aga Khan Center last time. Here we are in Samsung.
That's
true. It really does feel like it's been a blink of the eye. Now, you had a big agenda when we spoke last time.
Yes.
Taking this beautiful company, BT, that we all know and love in the UK, and thinking about how it can be, reinvented and go back to growth, and thinking about the culture.
Yeah.
How's it gone?
I have to say it's been a roller coaster ride. It's been a hell of a year. I think first of all, moving countries in the middle of COVID, new country, new job, new company. I would never recommend it. It was a nightmare. And I can write a book on it. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. One country in lockdown moved to the other, was literally smuggled out of India in 24 hours notice because it was going on the red list. Then Suez Canal happened, couldn't get my stuff in, got the stuff, couldn't find the house because UK went into the lockdown. Found the house, then couldn't get the shipment couldn't get any furniture because nothing coming from Europe. And I mean, appliances ordered in December actually got installed yesterday, so I've got something to celebrate. So it has been a bit of a nightmare. But I think within BT, you talked about a rich company, a company with a history of 178 years.
Amazing.
A national icon, lots to be very proud of and lots to learn as well. And the impact that, and COVID shifted the impact that telecoms can actually make in your lives and things we took for granted and how customers perceive it. And that has been really fascinating. But along with all this heritage comes a lot of legacy, and it's legacy of culture and thinking and systems and technology and everything, even processes. So this has really been a true revolution that we are trying to create there. And I think the first few months were a little tougher for me, but last few months I really feel like we're really starting to really accelerate BT and get it back to growth and do what we need to do and get the transformation back on the road and be much more big and bold about it, thinking about how we're going to bring about the cultural process and people transformation, not just about technology, and at the same time new platforms and pivot from that. Large companies have, and many of you will recognize this tendency to just do project after project after project, and move away from that thinking to say we're going to build platforms and you can launch what product you want on it, and and that is a different concept. So us getting to that and making that successful, almost doubling our share on the digital channels and really bringing about new revenue growth, both through that and through the platforms. And actually having a lot of fun trying to experiment, build new businesses as well. And we're experimenting with healthcare and health tech and working with NHS and a few startups, and also we've acqui-hired a couple of startups, we've invested in a couple of them. So a lot of very interesting things happening there. We're experimenting with drones, having lots of fun. We think we want to own, we can really make a difference the way we do on the network side. Imagine the biggest problem of drones is not the drone, and the tech is not in the drone. The tech is about how to do unmanned traffic management in an airspace that is not managed today. And no one company who has a drone solution can do that, and hence the network companies are one of the best. So we're really trying to see what we can do there and work with public and private sector. So a lot of interesting things across the board.
There's a lot to dig into there.
Yeah, it is.
And I know we've got a good chunk of time to do that, and we should definitely take some questions from the audience. Now, transforming a company like BT.
Yes.
I mean, how do you even begin to do that? And look, we chatted earlier, our audiences always love to get specific and hear what worked and what didn't work, but what can you share?
First of all, you have to be a little bit crazy, a little insane. If you are fully, a conventional thinker, it's not going to happen. So you have to think almost live out of the box, and be crazy enough to think that you can come in and change a company with a 178-year history. So that's the first ingredient. The second is, get more and more crazy people like you. And
so you've been recruiting?
I have been recruiting. I've been very busy. And I started at CogX last year. We had
I know, some of my team called me.
Yeah, we actually did our first dinner, which was kind of a public dinner, was at CogX last year. And at least 3 people I met there are now part of BT Digital.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so, and making real differences. But now I think, we've been all around the globe trying to see who we can attract, and we've got Kevin, who joined us from Korea. He was the Chief Product Officer for eBay. If you can run a marketplace like eBay, you can definitely build one of the biggest kick-ass marketplaces for BT. So brought him over. We've just had the head of design for Dropbox, actually, one of his ex-colleagues join us. He's moved from Silicon Valley, is heading our design for enterprise. We've had ex-digital head for HSBC running our enterprise digital. We've had somebody, British Airways design head, move over as well. And all of this is non-telco industry, but they're all experts in their fields in different, digital parts of the organizations all around the world. So we've been really busy.
That's what I was going to say. So you're not recruiting just here, obviously here, but going for the best candidates you can find. And that's an interesting thing, obviously, to bring them in from different industries.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, obviously these things aren't all plain sailing, but so you've recruited, brought some new people in. You said in the last few months it really feels like you're making traction. What's the best evidence you've got that that's really happening?
I think, one big satisfaction of a very small product was last year we actually launched our first digital product, which was completely built, by BT Digital, and it's a digital marketing hub. It's basically for SMEs, saying if you're a small startup and you're a small company, your expertise lies in what you are starting up. So if you are, opening up a bakery or a barber shop or a chartered accountant, that's what your area of expertise is, not digital marketing necessarily. But that's what you need to grow your business. So we've using a lot of the power of our data, as well as a lot of power of AI. We created the digital marketing hub to really help startups. And our first customer that we went to was this very dynamic young girl. She started her own cosmetics company, and we tried to see how we can, she was part of helping our first customer to see how the marketing hub worked, and with an amazing story of how her business grew 300% and how we helped do that. The satisfaction was that our entire enterprise business, which is BT Enterprise, is a multi-billion business, and they've just rebranded as BT Means Business and been on TV. So for the last 4 weeks, you would have seen the different ads of BT Means Business on TV. They're all targeted towards the digital marketing hub. So this tiny little product is a brand new revenue line, and that's what's on TV. So, a lot of our young boys and girls who develop that, going home and showing their kids, saying, that's the reason dad or mom has not been as available the last few weeks. But it's a great example of saying something like that, how much of a catalyst digital can be for such a giant business. Of
course, and it sets an example. So from start to getting that live, what was that time period? Because in normal, say telco land, that is often measured in years.
Yeah, I think the team, from when they had the conception and, before digital was fully digital until we got into, I think we spent a lot of time just convincing the rest of the company we wanted to do it. But, when BT Digital came together, we ask for forgiveness later if we make a mistake, but normally you don't ask for permission. So we just brought all of this together, gave it a lot of momentum, and that time frame was about 5 months, I think, till we got to our pilot, and now 3 months later, it's really.
I think anybody who's in a startup or a big company can agree that's incredible.
But that is the beauty. That's why I really feel digital is coming into its power, because it's like I've got the best playing ground of being in almost every home in the UK, 30 million customers, more than 1 million enterprises is what we service. But we've got a culture of a startup. We work like a startup, think like a startup. We want to act more and more like a startup in that big environment. And to be able to do that, that is probably the best of both worlds, because like a startup, I don't have to start from one customer at a scratch. I mean, I've got 30 million homes.
I mean, it's an incredible luxury to have when you're innovating, for sure.
Yes.
So you talked about bringing in the senior team members and looking around the world. Last time we also talked about the Digital Skills Academy,
yes,
which was launched. That's a very ambitious project. I mean, how many people are you looking to upskill?
So we've been working now through this same SME program. All the small medium enterprises, we're going around the country, training up them to be on digital skills as well. And we've done well over 1 million on that itself. We've got a partnership with Google as well, coming into our academy with Pluralsight. Now we've launched a proper digital campus for cloud skills, product skills, design skills,
and what does that mean,
agile skills. Campus? So the digital campus is what we are calling the academy now. Okay. So that's the name of the campus, and it's going to be almost like full career tracks for each of these, and this year we're going to concentrate a lot on our own people, and come April next year, I want to actually start opening up much more to the broader organization. So we've got, and part of it is also some of the most, esteemed fellows and technologists and product specialists around the world are coming and, speaking and mentoring people within BT for these skills. But there's also a lot of investment all the way up to Ivy League schools that we intend to do. I think we've all chosen to be associated with the telecom industry or the technology industry or one of these industries, but at the end of the day, it's the tech that we are investing in. And tech is changing so much that if you don't continue to invest in yourself, no matter what you're doing today, you'll be irrelevant tomorrow unless you refresh. So the onus is on each one of us to continue to invest in ourselves to keep current, whether it's on technology or it's on product build. And then, end of the day, that's what we do. We use technology to build products or platforms.
And on that point, where do you see the benefits? So you've got this traction. Where do you see the benefits really flowing through to the customers? So new products, obviously. There's a lot of internal work to do,
I love a lot of the product guys and the digital guys. I mean, what excites all of us is really what is the problem to be solved? And the problem is always, starts from what is the customer feeling or wanting, or what is their problem to be solved. And I mean, our entire mission statement, the first phrase is be customer obsessed. So it's fearless, customer obsessed creators. And I think that's what we are here to do, is really solve customer problems. We're investing a lot on that. We've launched a UI UX labs. In fact, 2 of them around the country already. The discipline a lot of the design teams bring is almost every single change, even a minute change, it goes through, it's tested with customers before it's put live. The amount of involvement, I mean, I was talking about the digital marketing hub, the amount of customers we went and talked to. There is only one of the sessions in my calendar which my office is not allowed to touch, and it is when we are having those either with, and I have the beauty of my job is everybody is my customer. Every employee is a customer because colleague experience is a big thing of what we control as well. Our end users are our customers. And all of our sales agents, call center agents, all of them are our customers as well. So we spend time with all of them and creating almost a co-creation culture. But, it's much more about understanding the problem rather than going to the customer and saying, what do you want? It's more about understanding, living in their shoes and seeing what is it that they're doing, what are they going to use this product for, and how can we help make it easier and better and faster for them. I think that thinking is probably bringing the most difference.
Look, I mean, that all makes complete sense. What would be a great example when you think about the existing BT services of where you've been able to apply that and get some
I'll give you 2 examples. I'm not proud of the examples, but I'll give you 2 examples. First of all, today on BT, if you wanted to buy broadband and mobile together, you cannot buy. You have to buy one, then you have to go and buy the other. It is impossible to buy. How many times we go to Amazon, and imagine if that were your experience. You buy the bananas first, then you go and buy the tomatoes later, and then you buy, you want to buy.
That would not be great.
It would not be great.
That would not be great.
So something as simple as that. I mean, so it shows that we've got a digital channel, we've got the tech to do the commerce, but it's not customer oriented at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So simple things like that. I mean, how we could not think about it from the first phrase, I don't know, but
you are now.
But we are now,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's also from things like that, and that is technically far more complex, because the whole tech world of buying broadband and wireline is completely different from buying mobile. And then on top of it, you bring a marketplace where you're selling digital solutions, and how do you combine all that together? But that's our problem, right? That's not the customer's problem. So why do we make it the customer's problem? We should be making it easier for them to do it.
Of course.
Another example I'll give you is on the same lines. It takes 39 steps today if you want to buy broadband. Bloody hell, I mean, we couldn't make it more difficult for a customer to buy broadband.
Opposite of a one-click shopping experience.
So the new experience is actually going to be almost going to feel like one step, because it's one scroll, and there are no more than 6 things you have to do to get it. So it's not about saying, can I simplify from there? It's about saying, can we create the best experience possible?
So that's great. We've got a completely new product line that you've launched in 5 months. That's pretty amazing. And we're going back to the basics and just trying to fix those things too. I know a lot of people in the room are from large companies. There's also a lot of people from startups and medium-sized companies. And
We love them.
And everybody's always, well, certainly I've got some war stories, but it's hard being a small company sometimes working with a big company, but that's something you're doing as well. What's a great, you mentioned investments. I know you've been working with some smaller companies that have been helping reskill BT internally as well.
So a lot of, in fact, as part of, so there's this unit we've created called etc. So etc. is all about doing everything as they call it, the undefined. And the whole, the entire ex-Hive team who founded Hive is actually now, we've brought the whole team, and they run etc. And, one of the things as part of that is this whole startup amplifier, saying, can we work with startups to actually amplify the growth of the startup while also bringing different propositions to our customers? We're also doing some investments, and we recently announced we did investment in Distributed, which is actually, they organize the unorganized contract market for digital talent. And I can see Mark there as the head of HR for digital, and he's on the board of Distributed. So it's as much about growing their business as much as about using that as an avenue to grow talent.
How big was that business when you got involved in it?
So they do, I don't know the specifics, but they do quite a few 100,000 placements is what they've done over the course. And we are looking to actually see if we can help them more than double their business over the next 3 to 5 years. At the same time, for ourselves, we attract a lot of the digital talent. That's what we want to do more for. And this gives them a very big backing of saying, I've got a customer who's got some immense, interesting work, big problems to solve. And it's a best of both worlds. We are doing, in fact, almost every quarter you will hear 1 or 2 stories that keep coming up. We hired another startup called Manova, and the CEO who's come in is actually running one of our next data products that we are launching. He's actually running that whole piece, so he's going to be launching that in hopefully a quarter.
And you usually describe that as an acqui-hire, so it was a small, early-stage business?
No, it was early stage, but they were actually liquidating as well. So we loved the team, and we just brought them all over.
Brilliant. And so if anybody in the audience is thinking about how could they connect with BT and partner with BT as a small, medium, or startup business, what's the first step for them?
There's a woman called Meg Blight. She's the first step. And I think the idea of this whole piece is Meg and her entire team are incentivized not by what they're just doing for BT. They're actually incentivized. If they're bringing in a startup, they're incentivized how much they've managed to grow that startup.
Right.
So it's a very, and we assume that the only thing I'm taking for granted is that because she she works in BT Digital, she's going to live and breathe in heartbeats for BT Digital. But there's nothing about her incentives that actually say, so the whole focus, the objectives and goals of that team are measured by what they do with the startups, not by what they do with BT.
Amazing. So, I mean, because, you know, of course, the analogy of the elephant and the mouse, and, there are lots of stories like that, but I think that's a real service, actually, BT can play in the UK community,
yes,
in particular, to create that platform. Now, I know platforms is something you've mentioned a few times, and we think of telcos and platforms, and there's one thought, but you're talking about building different kinds of platforms. What do you mean by platform?
So I think generally, I mean, platforms are supposed to be, I mean, what Airbnb and Uber and all created that whole platform thinking. It is about saying that how can you build a platform that actually connects any producers to the consumers either ways, and you are actually helping grow both the consumer market and solving their problem, but you bring in a lot of producers. That's exactly what we're doing. And all products are not going to be produced by us. And some of the telco products are our solutions, things like Digital Marketing Hub, there'll be some digital solutions. But at the same time, it's many other producers in the market, whether it's products produced from these small startups in the room or anywhere else. It's how we can build a platform that actually brings those to life for our customers, whether it's our enterprise customers or it's our direct-to-home consumers, both ways. We've got our incredible strength is our brand. Our incredible strength is the customer base that we service. Our incredible strength is we are front and center in every living room in the country.
Yeah, access.
So exactly, and we have a mechanism of physically and virtually serving each one of those customers. So that's what we are basically building on. Whether we service them to help them buy, a mobile phone, or we help them buy any of the other consumer electronics goods, it shouldn't matter and wouldn't matter.
And going back to your point about the experience of purchasing,
yes,
is your vision that those products by some of these partners could be purchased through that same process on BT's platform? Yeah,
exactly.
And that's an incredibly powerful idea if you can really get it moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We're actually starting that again very shortly with our enterprise business. It's a concept called Business in a Box, and that's basically if you are starting a company, you not only want connectivity, but you want a solution that can help you do your accounting and do your marketing and do you've got 5 employees, but somehow manage whether it's their payroll, etc. You might actually want a loan. Anything you want to do as a company to get your business going is what we'll help you get.
Amazing. Now, we're going to go to some questions in a minute. What advice would you give to anybody who is going to come into an organization like this and try and achieve this level of transformation? I mean, this has been less than a year.
Yes. I think biggest is, I mean, our mission statement and our culture says it all. I would say be fearless, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and really, be true to bring your authentic self. And if you have a spike, bring your spike. If you're spiky, be spiky. But we want people to really be who they are and be very true to themselves. And be the catalyst and the change catalyst that what you bring in, you're hired for your specialism, bring that in and help change everything around you to that, and not just get amalgamated with everything else. And that's part of my job, and our job is to allow them to thrive in that environment and not have everybody, the worst thing that you can listen to is somebody comes and says, this is how things are done at BT. Because your job is to break how things are done at BT.
Brilliant. Well, listen, that is a great introduction to us throwing the mic out to the audience. Do we have our mics here? Brilliant. We've got our first question just here on the left at the front.
Thank you very much. I'm Kutlu from Creative Destruction at Oxford University. So congratulations on all these changes and then fixing a kind of the digital experience, end-to-end experience. I have a question about kind of the emerging technologies and future-proofing BT, blockchain, IoT, quantum space technologies. What's BT doing to explore, embrace, and collaborate around those areas?
I think a lot around IoT and quantum specifically. I think blockchain, I'm going to reserve my personal judgment on, but the other two very relevant. IoT especially, because IoT is actually, one of the debates we are having is IoT is moving away from just being about IoT. It's about a lot of our solutions, and some of the stuff we're doing in healthcare and health tech has actually got the underlying, one of the underlying platforms and capabilities it needs is IoT, because it's about health sensors, and it's about sensors in the house if you're talking about elderly care. It's about sensors in even some of the work we are doing with the NHS on social care. It will need a lot of that ability. So what we are selling is building is the healthcare tech platform rather than an IoT solution. But it is, if I look at it, and if you start peeling the onion, it's probably the platform that powers a large part of that. Same when it comes to even connectivity, when it comes to smart meters and utilities. One of the things we're exploring is what more we can do, given how the world of energy has completely changed around us. And not only for an enterprise solution, but is there something we can do for the household to help every house even optimize 10% of their cost of energy? Could be, that's a problem to solve that we are getting from our customers. Now it's for us to see how we can play in that and how we can differentiate in that. But a large part of that will have the same capabilities of IoT. We're launching, security surveillance around the house, etc. That's an IoT play. So I think IoT is becoming more federated as a solution now, as previously probably in the last decade, where it was like one platform and one thing that's going to be the panacea that solves it. It's actually becoming almost like a foundation capability now. So there's a lot going on there. Same with quantum as well. And I think with the level of scale that we have, whether it's for our data processing or networks, etc., I think quantum is definitely one area which we are really starting to now dip our toes and see what more it can do to help make it easier to solve bigger problems faster and more effectively. And I really feel that's probably one space that will change a little bit of the landscape, both of the industry as well as technology as well.
Thank you. Next question. Another one here at the front, on the right.
Rashmi Rao, Strateq Limited. Harmeen, firstly, congratulations on all what you have achieved, not just at BT, but leading up to this point in your career. The question I had is, you previously touched on kind of the heritage and history of BT as being a 170 plus year organization. Yeah. And there's a lot that you're doing on the digital side.
Yeah.
How are you managing to navigate the fairly complex challenge of taking the legacy organization along with you? And of course, BT operates in a very regulated environment. So how do you navigate the challenge between growth, which you are kind of clearly mandated, and governance?
I navigate the growth, and I've hired somebody who manages the governance, because it's not a strength of mine, and I am the D in the job title is what BT calls digital, but more of a disruptor than probably a control governance person, to be honest. But I have an amazing COO, and his full-time job is to keep BT away from me, and he does a fantastic job at that. But I would also say, I think, and part of the governance is, like we talk about governance, if you federate governance as well, I mean, like data governance, I mean, building that into the data fabric itself, that's how you want to solve the problem rather than put a governance layer. So I think we're starting to think very differently, and that's helping the larger BT organization see that the same thing can be done in a different way, all the way up to the board. So that's how you end up, making a big impact on that front as well. But on the broader transformation, I think that is where it is far more fundamental on how to change the legacy thinking. Transformations are much more about people and processes as they are about systems and technologies. And there we've actually we are driving the overall, big transformation program, but part of that we are forcing the businesses to overly simplify the product portfolios. And that is leading to changes even in the pricing strategies. That's also leading into changes on how we do bundling. It's enabled by tech because we make it easier for them to to mix and match. We also make it easier for them to come up with different variations of the proposition without actually creating different products, which is what we've got today. But it is fundamental shift in how the business thinks of how they're going to take products to market. And at the same time, we have, we just had a big session at the Exco about saying how are we going to bring about the new process transformation. And the uniform thinking is, if you're building the new platforms and the new technology, those technologies are used around the world for similar products and similar solutions. So we're not going to actually adapt the technology and say, this is the BT process and the technology has to adapt to that process. We're doing the reverse. We're actually adapting our company to say, if this is the process that works and it's the shortest path to customer satisfaction, that's the process we're going to change to. And that is actually led by the CDOs or the CIOs in the organization. That is, I talk about, it takes a lot of small wins to make a very big win. That's probably the biggest of my small wins, is because that is what will fundamentally change, move us. We, large companies, have this plague of saying, I'm going to move to the newest technology, and I'm going to move to the cloud, and I'm going to move to SaaS. But the SaaS product has to bloody adapt to my process. And that's where the whole layer of customizations and requirements and all that, that's what I call is the large company plague. We got to move away from that. And I think that's what we're trying to do. And very aggressively. So anybody who wants to customize anything, they have to go through me, which means it'll never get customized.
That's really interesting, because that is definitely the history.
That is the history.
It's the history of large enterprises, full stop.
Yes.
I'm a big enterprise, I'm a big customer, I want it done my way.
I think there are two things that add complexity. The biggest one is that, and the second one is when you do a lot of mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, investments. Each one of those brings more complexity and never clean up. So we have a history of, I met somebody in my organization who said he's been part of the transformation team for 32 years. Now, he's very proud of it, and I'm very proud of him, but I'm thinking, looking at him and thinking, so basically what he's trying to tell me is we've not managed to transform the company in 32 years, and I think I can do it in 3 years, so one of us is insane.
Well, look, I think that is a great point just to talk about some of the other transformations you've been doing internally. People talk about moving to cloud.
Yes.
Right? And moving the legacy organization to cloud.
Yes.
That's a big shift. Is that something you're doing?
We are going to be fully living on the cloud. We're going to have
By
nothing
when?
to do with planet Earth. Very aggressive transformation. So almost even our core, the core of a telco is the BSS, OSS. All of that we're moving to the cloud. And
I remember when that was first talked about, the BSS, and it was so sacred.
Exactly.
So it had to be in your data centers. And
we are fully moving that to the cloud.
Okay.
And all our data, that's a big partnership we announced with Google. I think Adrian talked about it yesterday here at CogX. So that is, and in fact, he and the team gave me a little bit of good news yesterday. Is we've already moved 20% of our most critical data onto the cloud. We've got a challenge of doing more than 60% by the end of this year. So it's as fast and aggressive as it probably can be.
So that would be 18 months in, 60% migration to the cloud.
Actually, we started only in December.
Okay.
So that would be about.
You're moving quickly, Harmeen.
We are moving quickly, but I think one of the things, and by nature, I have OCD and I was a perfectionist, and I realize the wrong thing about perfection is perfection should be attained from what is truly perfect, not what's perfect in my mind. And what stops us from moving quickly is our inherent belief that I know best.
Yeah.
And I believe the opposite, saying when it comes to solving a customer problem, the customer knows best, I know the least. I make the best judgment I can with the data and the information that I have at that point in time. And I constantly go and test, and I learn from it, and I adapt. And the perfection comes from my ability to adapt very quickly, rather than me sitting in the ivory tower and saying, this is what is the perfect product. I take ages to build it, go out there, and the customer wants something else.
Yeah,
so
I've moved on. Yeah, no, I think that's essential. And just on a related topic, and it came up a second ago around sustainability.
Yes.
Power, energy, decarbonisation.
Yeah.
What's the progress there?
There's a lot we're doing there, and I have to say, there's a lot more we want to do. And one of the big focus we are currently having is what next. But we're moving a lot, we run thousands of fleets, around the country for both our network, our enterprise, our open reach businesses. We're moving all of that to our electric vehicles, and it's what we've publicly announced. We're changing small things like even the router in the house and how we can make it more energy efficient.
Because they give off a lot of heat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But more importantly, our entire global network and what we are building across for our enterprise customers around the globe, we've got about 400 odd POPs. We're going to change all of them, and the new technology is going to be consuming 80% lesser energy. So we're not talking about reducing by 25% and getting to 80%. We're talking about how we can reduce 80% of that energy and get to 20% footprint.
And is that a process thing, or have you picked a new supplier?
No, this is a mix of process and technology.
Okay.
And it's a huge investment. And as we are modernizing, we have an option of just going and modernizing or modernizing while keeping sustainability in mind. And we are 100% choosing the second in 100% of the cases. So there's no exception.
Got it. And are there any areas that you haven't made as fast progress on that you would look for others in your new ecosystem community partners to help with?
I think energy is still a problem to be solved because while we've done some, I think the problem has become bigger in the last, literally the last quarter for all of us. So I think there, I feel we've not fully nailed it. The other is probably looking a little bit about, more around what we can do more around the periphery of the core telco, and as we're looking at different options there. So while we're building the marketplaces, but that also gives us an infinite capability of building partnerships. And what would work best as an adjacency is a fantastic way for startups to come and partner with us. And that also gives us the variability of taking a solution to the consumers and saying, if you want something world-class or something very well-known, it comes at X price and this is the product. But you want to experiment with something, here's an alternative, it costs Y, and it's something that can be done in much lesser time to market.
And that, you mentioned the numbers earlier, it's 1 million enterprise
Yes,
well over
enterprise
customers, right?
1.2 million enterprise customers.
And 30 million consumers.
30 million consumers, households.
We're nearly out of time. I was going to ask the audience if we have a couple more questions. We've got 2 questions up here. Simultaneously, hands in the air.
Hello, Harmeen. Seamus from Trust Payments. You talked about quite an array of different products and areas of transformation. Clearly, you're in every household, and there's real opportunity to do good by embedding financial services. And I'm keen to hear whether you actively steered away from it.
We are looking at that, and the reason I didn't talk about it was avoidance of a topic that I grew up in financial services, so it's very close to my heart, and we are looking at saying what is the fintech play there without us getting into financial services. But the reason that is very important to us is we already do a lot of financing of our handsets, etc. At the same time, we process, for a 20 billion organization, we process 20 billion of payments, as you would imagine. So each part of our revenue is a payment transaction, either from a corporate or from an individual. So there is a large part of that tech that already sits and capability that sits with us, and what is the opportunity there. But we are exploring that, so that's part of what the etc. team is doing to see what could be our broader play there. There is a broader play there, and some of it is actually in partnerships, and we are talking to some of the, I have the fortune of also being on the board of Lloyd's, so, and I see if I look at the impact that companies like Barclays, Lloyd's, etc. have, it's the same set of customers, a different play. So I think there are different synergies that we have across these industries, which we are exploring as well. but definitely a play for both partnerships and some solutions.
Thank you.
Watch this space.
Next question.
Hi, it's Abhinav. I was just wondering, as a large company, any decisions that you make, even if it impacts only 1% of your user base, practically that's a very big number of
Yes.
30,000 people. So when you're thinking about decisions, how do you hedge your bets on technology? So when it comes to changing things in the future to be more flexible and meet new technologies, whether it's quantum or something else, how do you hedge your bets to make sure you can adapt quickly?
I think I don't look at it as hedging bets. I think it's just about saying you have an idea, and when you start on that journey, you always start small. So, you know, one of the things that actually Kevin and team are doing is we're going to change our entire experience around the new EE app. So millions of our customers are going to, and it's a massive technology shift. It's a massive proposition shift that's going to come with that as well. And it's a massive shift in actually what we do on the app today as well. And then finally, it's a massive shift on how the customer interacts with the app. But we started we've got a beta version already. It's only with 400 customers. And from 400, we're planning to go to 1,000 in a few days. And then from 1,000, we'll get to 10,000 in another month. And then we will get to 30,000. So you have, and that's what the whole, you know, it's the same lean startup philosophy, nothing different. But that's where I think we all talk about build, measure, learn. It's not an institution, it's not a religion in a company. The moment you make it like that, it makes it easier. And you learn much more. And I think, you know, one of the things we do in our incubation unit, we've stopped more things than we've started, because we try different things and we prove saying, we don't think we have a play, or if we have a play, we don't think we can really make revenue. Or even if we have a play, we can make revenue, we don't think the market is going to react very well to it for whatever reason. And we just decide, okay, we're not going to do it. And creating the culture where it's okay to do that, and more than okay to do that. We want a culture where escalations happen fast. You know, red is good. You know, you fail fast, that's good. You make a mistake, as long as you learn from it, that's good as well. And you actually create a culture where stopping something is not a failure, it's probably the biggest success. So, but you never put good money behind bad. If you stick to that philosophy, I think that's how you solve some of the biggest problems, because then it's not about saying, then it makes you more fearless. You're not afraid to make a very big decision, because you know you're going to be able to pivot and change at any step.
Thank you for the question. Is there one more question?
There's one around somewhere at the back, but they probably decided against.
There's another question at the back here, yeah.
So, given the history of BT, and I know a bit of history internally of BT, and the cultural
God bless you for that.
challenges that you have internally around, you know, I used to work for BT many, many years ago.
Oh, we won't hold that against you.
Sorry. So the question I have is, how do you make the cultural change happen to actually make that digital transformation work? That's one of the things that I see large corporations suffering with, is the intention's there, the technology's there, the budgets are there, but actually the cultural shift to actually move, whatever, 50, 60, 70,000 people to think differently, work differently, is a really big challenge. How do you handle that part of the transformation?
The gentleman on your right actually handles it. He leads the whole cultural, literally, yeah. So you hire somebody like him. But I think you bring about the transformation by actually being very bold up front and saying that this is what the new culture is, and how embracing that new culture is almost essential for survival. And I think I'll be honest, when I was here at CogX last year, that was on my mind as a problem, but it's not where I started from. And my first 6 months, my biggest learning was, and I'm normally not the touchy-feely types, but my biggest learning was that in order to do everything else, that's what we need to pivot towards. And we pivoted very fast. We actually we got a squad created of true people who understood digital, and they were very levels below the organization. They led through, they created our mission statement, they created the digital way, which is part of our North Star for the new culture. And it came from hundreds of people coming together and saying, these are the problems we need to solve in our culture, in our ways of working, how we work with each other, how we show up for each other, our behavioral change, our acceptance for change. In BT, one of the things that we want to change is it's very hard to get things done. Well, the moment you make that simpler, you can get 50 things done in parallel. So we're not shy about saying it's hard to get things done, because if we are shy about saying that means we don't want to change it. We're taking it head on and saying that's what we're going to go and attack. We're going to make it easier, and we're going to make it pleasurable, and we're going to actually have fun doing it.
Brilliant. Well, it's been great to have this conversation.
Lovely as
with
always,
you.
Charlie.
You're a very impressive progress in a year. What are we going to look out for before we get to next year? If you had to pick like 2 or 3 things.
I think
What's next?
Next year I think we'll do a poll next year. I dare not do the poll this year, but next year we're going to do the poll. If everybody in the room who is a BT or EE customer, have you felt a dramatic shift in your digital experience, yes or no? So we will definitely do an open poll next year. No pressure, Kev. The second thing that I would say is, if there are startups in the room, I'd love to hear some examples from them on saying how they felt working with the new BT was more of a pleasure than a burden. And I think the third is we should have a lot more examples of how we actually helped BT get back to growth.
Brilliant. Well, listen, let's check in next year on those things. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks very much.
Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for the great questions. That's the end of our fireside, and we look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you.